Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. We're doing a podcast again because there was a three-team trade, and this does change the market for Jalen Duren in restricted free agency. So we're going to be going over this three-team trade that the Chicago Bulls, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves made, and also kind of looking at the cap space projections for the cap space teams that could possibly go after Jalen Duren in restricted free agency. So let's break down this three-team trade first. I'm going to put the graphic on the screen for you guys to follow along if you're watching on YouTube right now. So Minnesota, Brooklyn, and Chicago just made a trade, three-team trade according to ESPN sources. Shams Charania. Minnesota receives Brooklyn's second-round pick, 33rd overall. Brooklyn gets Julius Randle and Minnesota's 28th pick. So Brooklyn gets to trade back in the late first round. This was actually the Pistons pick. If you guys are kind of following along, because we did that pick swap with Minnesota. And then Chicago gets Nic Claxton. So how this kind of affects Jalen Duren's market, two of the three teams that I think Pistons fans were worried about were the Chicago Bulls with the cap space that they had and the Brooklyn Nets with the cap space that they had. Now, Keith Smith, who is a very good cap space guy to follow during free agency because he's so on top of it over at Spot Track, definitely encourage you guys to follow Keith Smith and have post notifications on for the next 2.5 to 3 weeks because he'll be breaking down the NBA draft. He'll be breaking down undrafted free agents with these NBA teams. If you're just an NBA fan listening to this, watching this, definitely encourage you guys to follow Keith Smith. But these are his cap space projections with his number. So let's break it down. So it's updated 2026 cap space projections, factoring in the Brooklyn, Chicago, and Minnesota trade. Los Angeles Lakers can get up to 52.1 million. That includes a Austin Reeves cap hold and if DeAndre Ayton opts in, but no other cap holds. So I do want to say that first and foremost, the Lakers can generate cap space. If you go right now and you look at their cap holds, they have like negative cap space, but they can create a max spot. I'll get into why that kind of matters in a little bit. Brooklyn, after this trade, has $36.1 million of projected cap space, and the Chicago Bulls have $32.5 million of projected cap space. Now, you may be wondering, how does this kind of factor in with Jalen Duren and his market, Anthony? Well, we're going to get into that. So, before this trade, we talked about it with Sean Murphy yesterday on the podcast, kind of just outlining the Lakers' interest in Jalen Duren. Right now, before the trade, this this is the type of contracts that teams that had cap space could offer Jalen Duren. Now, restricted free agency, you're able to offer 4 years, 177 million. The AAV on that would be 44.2 to be exact. Now, with Brooklyn and Chicago, they're not able to offer a full max anymore with this trade. As you guys can see, Brooklyn has 36.1 of projected cap space, and Chicago has $32.5 million of projected cap space. For Brooklyn, the most that they could offer Jalen Duren right now with the $36.1 million worth of cap space over a 4-year period would be 144 million. That is not the maximum allowance of a restricted free agency team. 177 is. With Chicago only has 32 and a half. They can only offer him 32 and a half over 4 years would be $130 million of over a 4-year period. Now the Lakers can't offer Jalen Duren that 4 years 177 if they relinquish some of their cap holds and they're able to get up into that maximum spot to try to get him. And there were several reports this past week with Jalen Duren and the Los Angeles Lakers, and like how the Luka Doncic told the media that he's really looking for a center that's athletic and catching lobs, and Jalen Duren does fit that bill. We've seen Jalen Duren catch lobs from Cade Cunningham. It's one of Cade Cunningham's favorite targets. This season, the past couple of seasons, if we're being 100% honest with ourselves. So Jalen Duren's only real team in restricted free agency that we have to worry about is the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, does Duren want to stay in Detroit, pay less taxes, and have more money in his bank account, and play for a team that has drafted him, play for a team that he's familiar with Cade Cunningham and JB Bickerstaff? Or does he want to bounce, go play with Luka, possibly LeBron, take one less year on a deal, possibly get the 177? Who knows what the Lakers would offer the max? I would assume that they would try to force the Pistons' hand. But those are the conversations you have to have. I'll give you guys just my honest opinion on the matter, and this is just in my opinion. I think the Pistons are going to be able to get a deal done with Duren that is probably closer to the 190 to the $200 million range. I said yesterday I would be okay and I would be happy if the Pistons can keep a deal over a 5-year period with Jalen Duren under $200 million. We all know that the reports are that Jalen Duren is seeking $40 million. So that would be like a 5-year, $200 million contract. I'm hoping Trajan Langdon and this Detroit Pistons front office can kind of convince him, saying like, hey, if you take a couple $1 million less, we can kind of build around you in the core and Cade and the SAR of trying to get more pieces so we could possibly be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe against the Knicks, maybe against the Celtics, and try to compete for an NBA Finals. Because if you kind of look at the contracts, the future contracts with this team, and you got Cade on a max contract making $50 million, having Duren at $40 million and possibly a SAR in the low to mid 30s, it's going to be pretty hard to build a competitive team to surround those guys, because we both know Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson, as of right now, are not floor spacers. Jalen Duren did an incredible job this year of upping his scoring average on dribble drives and getting to the free throw line. I think there's still a lot of untapped potential there with a mid-range shot and developing more of a go-to move in the post. And Asar Thompson, obviously, we'd like to see him be more of a consistent scoring threat from the outside, improve the three-point shot, improve the mid-range jump shot, be a little bit more aggressive at the rim. But I did want to update you guys on this trade. It does affect the Jalen Duren restricted free agency market quite a bit. Before we do end this short podcast, we do have to hear from our sponsors over at the FanDuel Sports Book. And with the NBA draft coming up tomorrow, these are the odds for the number one overall pick. We did this earlier on the other podcast, but AJ DeBonsa is still the odds-on favorite to get drafted by the Washington Wizards, a minus 600, followed by Darren Peterson, that's a plus 500. Cameron Boozer at a plus 4,000, Caleb Wilson at a plus 15,000, and Darius Acuff at a plus 30,000. I mean, speaking of the Bulls, I mean, they could have a front court. Think about this. I kind of like this for the Bulls. It's just a basketball fan, because I'm thinking about it off the top of my head right now. You could have a front court of Nic Claxton, who I like Nic Claxton. I think he's a good rim protector. I think he's done a better job of developing a little bit. And then Caleb Wilson as a power forward, and you also have Matas Buzelis as well. So, I mean, Chicago is kind of going through a rebuild right now, but I like this trade for them, getting a guy in Nic Claxton who's more of a vet. And now they actually have a legitimate front court rim protector in Nic Claxton. But again, did want to update you guys on this Jalen Duren contract, restricted free agency situation. If there are any more trades, hopefully not tonight, because it's 11:30 as we are kind of like recording this podcast. But if there are any, we will be making short podcast episodes and uploading them to YouTube and wherever you do get your guys' podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever. We're everywhere. But hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Talk really soon. I'm really excited to see what happens tomorrow in the NBA draft. If the Detroit Pistons decide to stay at 21, trade up in this draft, or just trade the pick altogether. But talk to you guys really soon. Have a good night. Peace.